Don't give me the humble stuff. Come on. How do you prefer to be introduced? The infamous, notorious, huge fat loser on Instagram. What's up, everybody? Episode 2 of the Vision Cast with the notorious, infamous, huge fat loser on Instagram, Aaron Lohman, our friend, and NYPD.
Yes,
We
sir.
back the blue. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much for having me.
My co-host and the director of marketing and most things marketing driven here at VMI Sports.
Dashingly handsome is what I prefer to be
Carolakis
introduced as, but
He's on my right.
yes, on the right side.
I am Tom Riley, and we are happy to be here. Thank you for joining us. Aaron, thanks for coming in, man.
That's a pleasure. Anything you guys ever need, like, I'm here.
I need you to do 100 push-ups right now.
I don't know if I can do that. I just hit chest.
You literally said anything. You used the word anything. Yeah. But no, we're happy to have you. I know we wish it was just us and not Nick, but
yeah, no, it's true.
You know, if we're being honest,
Can't have everything you want in life, Tom.
We'll have an attendance episode.
Okay, yeah, it's whatever. No
Anyway,
big deal.
you know, I'll defer to Nick on some questions that he may or may not know. But what I want to introduce the VMI family and the VMI fans and our customers to you, not only because you're affiliated with the brand, but I think you have, what to me is an impressive story. Okay, as an N supplement user, as a regular person, and as a police officer. So if you can, I'd like to hear a little bit about kind of, you can get as in depth as you want. I don't want to, put you on the spot, but I don't know sort of the origins of your story. I really didn't know till recently. You were on TV at one point, I think during a newscast or something, but give me a little bit, like, what got you where you're at now on the fitness and health side? So
I was never really a workout guy, never into fitness, anything like that. The last time I worked out was like in the academy, pretty much. Then I was over 425 pounds. When I tell people the number 425, that's like when I stepped on the scale and I had already lost like a little bit of weight at that point. So I really, honestly, genuinely don't know the weight that I started at.
Wow. Good for you.
The job will give you every excuse to get overweight. There's a lot of stress. The culture is just not very fitness centered, although it should be. You live a sedentary lifestyle. You're sitting in a car. You're sitting at a desk. You're doing all this stuff. You're constantly running around like chasing bad guys, doing casework, all this stuff, and you don't really take time for yourself. All your priority is to the public. So I pretty much got in trouble at work, and I was assigned to a desk duty job. And then right around the same time, I had a nightmare that I died at work. I was overweight. I got thrown off a building. I pictured my daughter at her sweet 16, like lighting a candle for me. And it was just like a really crazy visualization where I was like, you know what? I got to change my life. So the 2 days later, I bought a bike. I thought of what's something I could do that I like to do. I used to ride bikes with my brother when we were kids. I really enjoyed it. So I actually looked up on the internet, like, am I too fat for a bike? And they said, yes. You are too fat for a bike, but I did it anyway.
Wow.
The first day I rode to the train station to work and to the train station home, and I got a flat tire. I hit a curb.
Wow.
And I got a flat tire. So like now I'm like, fuck, I am too fat.
Obstacle City. Wow.
I can't do this. I really almost quit that first day, but I just kept going. I never gave up.
Why didn't you quit?
Because of that nightmare,
You had a good reason.
Yeah, that nightmare, like I genuinely, self-reflecting on the bad things that you're doing is one of the hardest things you could possibly do. When I had that moment to self-reflect and realize the damage that I did to myself, like not only physically, but mentally, and I had to change it. Like it was either change now or I tell people all the time, like I would be dead right now, without a doubt.
Wow. That's powerful. Wow.
Thanks.
All right, so you got back up off the bike and kept going.
Kept going. We had a small, really crappy gym in the command, and I just sat on a bench, opened up the bodybuilding.com app, looked at exercises I could do with what I had available, and just started from there. I just started, made my own program, designed my own program, and just started from there.
It was good for you,
like
man.
6 years ago.
Wow. And now you're helping people with your own personal training.
Yeah, I coach people not only personally as a side business, but that's what I do for the police department. Yeah. I write workout programs for people, nutrition programs for people.
Wow.
I help with their mental health, all that type of stuff.
Yeah. Wow. And you go precinct to precinct too, right?
Yeah, I visit whatever command I'll teach people how to work out. They could come down to my office. I'll teach them how to work out there, and I teach them how to eat right. You know, it's just so important because I know that, to me, everything in the police department field, no matter what department you work for, everything's out of control. You don't control anything. Like even when you go to a 911 call, you're not in control of that. Somebody else is calling 911. They're giving you the limited amount of information that you have. You're not in control. So the most important thing to focus on is the things that you can control. And two of those things are how you use your body and what you put into it, and what you put into your mind too. As long as you're controlling those three things, you'll have a great balance. And I didn't have that until I started making this transformation and making this journey. So I tell people to focus on those things now, and it makes a world of difference.
100%. Mental and physical. It almost doesn't matter what you do, but especially if you're on the job. Yeah, no question.
100%.
And that's kind of the route I kind of want to take, because this is, we're a sports nutrition company like to begin with, and everyone's go fitness, motivation, this and that, and all the flashy, fun, fluff, fairy dust stuff that we see all the time, which is all well and good. But I think we've had this conversation before, whether it's fitness or life, business, whatever. Mental health is something that we say is very important, but it doesn't exactly get the necessary, let's call, highlight that it should. And I know that's something that you deal with on a daily basis, dealing with whether it's friends, family. We've given each other advice on a daily basis and helped each other get out of holes. But what you do for a living is very unique from for the NYPD in general. Because forgive me if I'm wrong, but they said, Aaron, here you go. This is your department. Do with it what you want, which a lot of people don't know. Right. Your department didn't exist without you. So first of all, kudos, congratulations for all your accomplishments.
Thank you.
Two, I obviously giving you the platform, explain what you do, how you do it, and how are you highlighting and helping people from a mental health standpoint, just to get them, whether it's out of a hole or just to get started, period.
Sure. So through my social media, I was actually contacted about this unit to come to it, right? Which is weird in 2020 at the time. They're like, hey, we're starting this unit. You should come here. You'd be great. I honestly didn't want to go there at first. Like, I liked what I was doing. I was always an active cop. I worked in the gang units. I worked in anti-crime, all these units that you hear about on TV now that they're trying to bring back. I worked in all those units. Wow. And I loved it. And I didn't want to sit in a desk job, but I realized that the level of importance of helping people focus on their mental health and their physical health and change themselves like I was, because there's so many people who are burnt out like I was. Like, I was completely burnt out, depressed, miserable. The person you see on Instagram now on social media is a completely different person than you saw before. Like, if you see that person on social media who's constantly posting angry stuff all the time, just completely out of control, like emotionally, that was me. And I completely made that transition, and I knew where I was at that time, and I know a lot of people are in that place, and I knew that I had to give them that wisdom to change themselves. So I went there, and now what I do is I do many things. Obviously, like I said previous, I help them do fitness and nutrition programs, but I also run the department's peer support program, which is cops in every command, cops and civilians, where pretty much you go through a 4-day training class in resilience and suicide awareness, and they are the person in the command that the people in the command turn to if they need some type of resource or some type of help.
Wow. And it's funny. It's not funny. The interesting thing, I guess, is outsider looking in, right? Everyone in at least, health, fitness, mental health is really just as important as physical health, if not more so. You can't even quantify, or at least I don't think you can, what you're doing right now, because it's something that really wasn't being done before and couldn't be done to a more important, focused group of people who are struggling both physically and mentally, right? And many of us don't know what it's like to be on the job, but I think the average person can assume the level of stress. So I think what you're doing is, it's not even quantifiable. It's unbelievable. The fact that you were willing to leave your everyday gang unit and to sort of sacrifice what you enjoy doing to go do this for the greater good of the department. It's unquantifiable.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I think also too, a point a lot of people, seriously, double down on that. What made you turn that switch? Like, what was it that, whether it was the weight loss or whatever it was, but what mentally really made you be like, oh, like, I really need to snap this?
Like, as far as going to do this in the department?
Yeah, exactly.
Like making the change where you were willing to go do this.
I literally had a moment of clarity where I was like, this is about something bigger than me. It's more important than myself.
100%.
It's about, and I was already helping people through my own social media, and I was like, I need to do this on a bigger scale and help as many people as I possibly can. Because there's so many people out there, I get contacted all the time. So I do that for the department. I do what I do on the side, but literally it never stops. It's nonstop. 20 hours a day when I'm not sleeping, 19 hours a day, messages through social media, through the department, through whatever, where I'm just continuously helping people already. And I realized how important that was and how many people needed it. Like people don't see that part of what I do. They just see some dude who posts pictures in the gym on Instagram or like posts a video or whatever, but they don't understand the behind the scenes where I'm literally dealing with mental health, mostly from police, but other people too, and physical health, people who don't know how stuck they are where they are mentally and physically, and just don't really know what to do and don't know where to start.
Yeah, so, people can't even see that you're doing that because it's really a behind the scenes private piece, right? But like, that's the unquantifiable part. Like you're touching X number of lives, but on a really deep scale. This is not like telling somebody they need to eat, a healthier, macro diet. This is real stuff.
Yeah.
I think it has a big impact.
Right. Especially like when it comes to mental health, there's so much stigma behind it and so much stigma behind seeking that treatment of mental health that like those stories, there's so many success stories that I wish I could share with you, but I can't because it's not right. And that's the whole thing. Like you cannot tell people what is going on behind the scenes because you can't out people for seeking help because of the stigma.
This is a really hidden reward kind of gig for you. It's you're sort of doing it without the spotlight of the success stories. But I think that's the impressive thing to me, right? Which is why I wanted to talk about it. Like the fact that you get up and do that every day, knowing it's for the greater good, and beyond helping the individual officers that you're helping, or even some civilians, right? But you're helping them on that mental health and probably physical health too. But the important thing to me is that next layer. You're improving that person, helping them get to a better place, but they're in public service. That's going to affect everybody they interact with, not just their family, the civilians, the people within the department. So that's that sort of spider web of what you're doing, that impact really spreads. So that's, to me, the impressive thing. It's obviously a hidden reward thing where you're not getting the success story out there like you would like to. But, dude, I can't even tell you. People like us respect that spider web effect of how many people what you do actually touches.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, and I think also, too, so, I mean, we joke all the time how many police friends I have. But, no, at least from a friendship standpoint, what I hear the most is, at least when it comes to your mental health and your mental well-being, from knowing these officers, I think the hardest hurdle that they have is actually not admitting that I have a problem or just saying like, hey, I just mentally need to get into a better place, because what you're going through as a police officer, it's not only physically demanding, but all the negativity that you see from a media standpoint. Not that it's not fair, it really isn't. But there's a stigma that you shouldn't come out and say something. There's a stigma that, no, you're a police officer, you can't be saying that. And then the, not reputation will be, frowned upon, but it's like, it's just, no, that's, you're afraid that the kickback or the, the negativity that you receive from your peers is not exactly the best.
It's like peer pressure to not do something,
because there's a perception, and then there's a fear that there's going to be kickback because you're not mentally capable, when in fact the fact that you alone are willing to say something and improve yourself shows that you are in fact more than capable
100%
to do the job.
It's true. So one of the biggest things that that cops say is that if I seek help, I'll get in trouble from the job and I'll be whatever. But a lot of that rumor, because I work there now and I know exactly what goes into it, and like how many 10,000 cops in the NYPD call my office and the employee assistance unit a year. We do not. Wow. Yeah.
10,000 individual officers, not 10,000 phone calls.
10,000
individual.
10,000 phone calls a year.
All right. So.
Okay.
Wow.
So out of that, how many people really like have their guns taken or whatever? Not many at all. Okay. But that stigma is perpetuated by the culture of cops. Cops, unfortunately, sometimes just only see that we're so used to seeing negative, we get on that negativity loop. So the job's not going to help you, all this stuff. And what cops are really more concerned of than that is what the person in the patrol car next to them thinks. If I tell this person that I'm feeling something, or if I tell this person that I'm going to seek help, what is this person going to think of me? They think of that way more than anything else.
Wow. Was my partner or my person next to me.
So that's like the most frequent.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I can see that. That's your immediate, everyday,
Well,
partner.
you're working with that person, It's like at the office, it's like, wow, if I say this, Tom's going to think I'm a dick.
It's probably on a much more serious level, but you
know what I'm saying.
I know what I'm saying. It's the same thing, but you don't want to be judged. You don't want to have a preconceived notion. You don't want to have someone to lose faith in your ability to support them, back them up, so on and so forth. That can play a big role, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I mean, the key is for people to just, within the department, end the stigma and encourage other cops to seek help and like tell people that they care about them. It's a very like alpha male profession, even now with everything's trying to be more or less on that, but still, it's still that way. It's still like quote unquote warrior culture, sheepdog culture, all that type of stuff. I mean, we're slowly starting to break away from that and like letting people know that we have feelings and that we need to take care of ourselves.
Your people.
Yeah, because you get burned out so easy. Like you need to, if you can't serve not only yourself and your family and all this stuff, you cannot be a good public servant if you are completely burned out and stressed out.
Yeah.
And I always tell people this, people ask me about police reform and like all this stuff, and they always want to bring up, whatever they want to bring up. The real key to police reform in this country is to focus on police officer physical and mental health. If you fix that, if you have happy cops.
That's a soundbite right there.
If you have happy cops, you will have a ton less problems. And there's data research to back that up.
The interesting thing is, and outside of, not to cut you off, so I see it from I'm going to call it a business, perspective, right? Whether it be LinkedIn or just the news, there's so much in society and the culture towards, making the workplace softer and making the workplace more allowing. And I'm not even talking about work from home during the pandemic. I mean, just in general, I think people generally worry about that for the average pedestrian, right? But like, how about we put that focus of making things more, available, vulnerable, helpful, whatever, to the people that are in the most stressful, difficult position that actually serve all of us. And so I think that's amazing to me that you have so many people, police reform, and how about we try and help them like you're trying to help yourself and get extra sick days at your job or whatever it is. Everyone has their hand out at their place of employment or their industry. And to a degree, I get that. But, let's help the people that need it the most. And to me, that's the public servants, first responders, cops, like, as my brother's on a job now. And I think about that constantly. I don't want to see him get burnt out. I don't want to see him struggle. You don't want to see any first responder struggle. You don't want to see any cop struggle. Whatever they're in, fire department, doesn't matter. And I think it goes so overlooked by the public. Yet you guys are the public servants. It should be, to me, next to kids, maybe the primary focus of who we help and how we help them. So no, I think what you're doing is immeasurable, honestly.
Thank you.
Yeah. No joke.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. No, listen, we appreciate it because it has an impact layers beyond the people you touch. No joke. And I say that as a family member. So,
and listen, it is thankful, like I don't like, let's say that, obviously the funerals the last week were very sad, but when you see people that you don't normally see on a really daily basis and they come up to you and they're like, dude, you saved my life. Like, thank you. Like, it means a lot.
Game changing, right?
Yeah.
So when you're helping, whether it's, coworkers or, civilians, whoever it is, what are the steps that you take when it comes to evaluating that person?
As far as mental health or physical health?
Both.
I literally just have a conversation with them for half an hour and I try to find out every single habit that they do, everything they do. And most of my focus, even in nutrition and fitness, as you both know, everybody knows what to do, right? Everybody knows, okay, exercise more, eat less, drink water, right? People aren't idiots, but it's all about behavior change. Like if you are just used to doing a certain behavior for a certain length of time, you're going to continue to do that. And you're going to continue, and unless you start breaking that cycle, there's this infamous story where a trainer tells his client to go to the gym 5 minutes a day, right? And the client thinks it's the dumbest thing ever. But what he's really doing is he's getting that person to make that part of his behavior now to go to the gym. And now he expands it by, I don't know, however long every day. And then it becomes a habit where you're doing that every day. Sure. So that's what I really try to do with both mental health and physical health is I try to slowly change their behaviors into more better like mental and physical behaviors.
Better practice. I mean, I think that applies to a lot of things in life, but I think for cops in no situation that you're dealing with, but even people in general, right? Like people say, oh, knowledge is power. To a degree, it's what you do with it. And so many people either don't know on their own how to make habit or behavioral changes that knowing what to do. I know a lot of guys, and some of them used to be clients, some of them are friends, that know what to do and then don't do it. Mm-hmm. It is behavioral. It is habits. It's discipline. If you can't help people with those core behavioral changes, it doesn't matter what you teach them. It's not going to apply. So application of the knowledge is more important than the knowledge itself. Action over intention, right?
Yeah.
And so I think you're 100%, spot on with that direction. Because like if you don't build the habits that because you went through it, then it doesn't matter what you eat less, drink more. It doesn't matter.
I treat it like therapy, like cognitive behavioral therapy. Like if you constantly think in this negative way, like I try to coach them, and I literally act like a therapist more than like a coach or a personal trainer. If they're engaging in a bad behavior, if they're doing something or they're not sticking to it, I'll straight up ask them why. Why aren't you doing this? And I'll dissect it further. And it always comes down to some type of thing that they went through, or some type of trauma, or some type of reason that they don't care about themselves. Sometimes they don't love themselves, stuff like that. They don't feel like they deserve it. They don't feel like they deserve to sacrifice. And it's always stuff like that they have minimized to the point where they don't even realize that that's why they're not taking care of themselves. And the second you get them to realize that and focus on fixing themselves in a slow way, that's when a lifetime of change happens.
Wow. Small steps make to big steps. Yeah. No, that's 100%. That's crazy. Listen, I'm appreciative that you do it, but it is interesting to hear the approach, right? Mm-hmm. Core behavioral understanding, why the habits are there, what the reasons are, right? It's really how we should approach everything. Hell, medicine.
Well, I think you hit a nail on the head too. Is that when I asked, what are the steps here? It's literally just having a conversation. I think if you normalize having those conversations, opposed to like the reality is too, like just as men, period, not to exclude the ladies, we love you, but as men, I think as a society, it's more of like no one really cares about your problems. We all have our shit full. Like no one cares. No one cares, and I'd be at fault to say like when me and you bullshit all the time in the office, and when we're talking like, everyone has their shit, like deal with it. But obviously there's circumstances, some are worse than others. But I think normalizing having that conversation of like, hey, we do all have our shit, but that doesn't mean it's good to not talk about it.
Right. Not only that, there's a whole thing in mental health. Sorry. There's a whole thing in mental health where there's two opposite extremes, right? There's the people with the negative stigma who say, yeah, suck it up, man up. And then there's the people who just want to give hugs and did not take that second step to actually help that person. Yeah. There has to be a middle of the road. And I hate that the phrase man up is totally banned from society these days, because I'll tell you what, man up doesn't mean suck it up. Man up means realizing you have a problem and seeking out to fix that shit.
Right. Yeah. And then actually developing the habits and behavioral changes to fix it.
Exactly.
So much of society is so soft today. And, people view that as the masculinity or the approach or no, listen, getting the help, seeking the help, that's the soft admission, right? That I need help, right? Mm-hmm. Not that I want extra or whatever. I think that's the big step, but that middle ground includes man up. Like, listen, you're going to have cuts and bruises and issues along the way. Are you willing to ask for help, and are you willing to take the next step?
Correct. You can't curl into a ball and just give up.
I think that's what a lot of society does, man. And then because they get used to that and they get coddled by society, they get coddled by their friends, their family, their parents, social media. You get people that, listen, don't say that. Don't do that. Oh, that's not fair. Listen, man the fuck up. Like, the reality is everyone's got their shit. And there are people that care, okay? But generally speaking, the general public doesn't care about the rest of the general public. They just act like they do. Everyone cares about their own shit. And I think the biggest problem that public that have that perception is that, for me, the public servants are at the top of the list. Like, if I'm picking a group of people I care about, it's the people that go out there every fucking day that you don't see, you don't hear about, but they're there when you call 911 and somebody answers the phone and then somebody shows up. Guess what? Those people are doing that every single day, whether you call or not. And I think the fact that the public and society is so soft is really a bad approach, right? Like, people have to understand, there's a middle ground. But part of the middle ground is like, we got to, care about the people that need the help. But everyone's got to fucking get up and go.
Right.
Like,
everything on social media these days is just virtue signaling, even when it comes to mental health.
100%.
Everybody wants to put up reach out, seek help, whatever, but
they don't help anybody though.
Yeah,
themselves.
do they really give a fuck?
100%.
Are they going to take you to the next step? Are they going to take you by your hand and take you to a hospital? Are they going to take you to seek therapy? Are they going to help you find somebody?
Yep.
No.
100%.
And that's where real mental health, and that's where the difficult conversations come in, when you have to actually sit there and talk to somebody and be like, bro, You need to get your shit together, you know? And people don't want to have those hard conversations because it's inconvenient for them, right?
100%. It's either inconvenient or uncomfortable. And it just goes to show you it's virtue signaling, whether it be, I'm sure, within NYPD or with the general population, right? Like, people don't want to really help anybody else when they need it, but they want to act like they do.
Yes.
And they put intention over action. Listen, I'm not putting up a bunch of posts that I did, help these 6 things, help this charity, do this. You know what I fucking do? I fucking show up at a charity event. You know what I do? I help the guy that needs to help. And so for me, one time, my brother, like John, that I told you is on the job that you know, one time there was a lady whose car was on fire on the highway. And we have to kind of flag her off the road, get her out of the car. She's going back for her pocketbook. You know, like instant reaction. You want to help an old lady driving a car. Her car's on fire. She doesn't realize the car's on fire while she's driving it. I had multiple people tell me when I regurgitated that short story, oh man, it's crazy. Why'd you do that? Why didn't anybody ask why? There's somebody that needs fucking help. It's action over intention. I'm not going to act like I'm helping people, but the reality is if society's focus was just help who you can help when they need it, and hopefully that comes back to you, we'd all be better. But nobody wants to do that. And most of the public puts first responders and cops last. Listen, you want to have police reform or police change, but you fucking support the police. Why don't you help somebody other than yourself? And maybe things would be different. Yeah. And I think that's for me, a very passionate thing where I think people, you know, they want to act a certain way in front of other people, especially on social media. And then, you know, when you hit the pavement, it's like, oh man, well, you know, the bad guys are coming. Well, who's shooting at the bad guys, motherfucker? You?
Yeah.
Like, you know, and that's the big thing. I see that. And it's just, you know, those people don't realize how negative that behavior and that approach is for everybody.
I also don't realize how good they have it and how lucky you are. To have the
100%.
NYPD, to have your first responder.
No question.
Because you go anywhere else, go live where you want to live and see how well it fucking goes. Because let me give you a reality check. You're not going to hear anything. You're going to hear a peep.
If you don't like it, I got a list of countries you can go to.
I'll tell you to man up. You know, no pun intended. Yeah. But to the point
Move
where
to
it's like
Chicago for a week.
Exactly. See how that goes. And guess what? It's not going to go too well. Man up over there. See how well that goes. How's that going to take you?
I think what you're doing is, like I said, it's immeasurable. And I don't say that to put you on. We love you. You know that. But
thanks.
I didn't really know the depths of it, so I'm glad we talked about it. But that's not quantifiable what you're doing, man. And you know what the reality is? I wish there were other guys like you in other departments, in other places that were willing to do that. I hope you get to the point of being able to have that impact. I really hope you do.
Thank you. But listen, man, it's hard to be somebody in a culture where it's just so steeped in negativity, where you get a lot of shit from other people who are also on the job when they see you doing something and they see you doing something good. It's just like any other industry, you know, where they see that and they don't always think that you're either doing it for the right reasons or whatever. And they see what's on social media, but they don't know what's in real life. Like I said, what goes on behind the scenes, and they shit on you for it, you know? And so I understand why people don't put themselves out there and try to advocate for certain things, to advocate for change. And not only that, just be themselves on social media. Like, they just don't. It's hard. I don't blame them, but it's not always easy.
And we had when we had Guy on the other podcast, he brought up a good point. It's more of a highlight reel. Like he made a point to you to say, like, hey, no one's really going to put up their failures. It's all just the success stories. No one's going to say, oh, like, hey, I messed up the website the other week. Should I post about it? Like, no one's, you know, I'm going to put up, oh, like, we're killing it. This, you know, it doesn't really, that's not what it's about. And it's become a popularity contest. And that has unfortunately translated into society, period. Social media. And there's the aspect, oh, well, this is all well, good, fluffy, awesome. This is great. I'm amazing. No, you're not. You're just like everybody else.
Yes. I try as hard as I can to keep it as real as possible, but still, it's still a highlight reel. But I encourage people to just, you know, you talk to people about social media and creating a social media page. And I remember when I went through certain things with certain other companies and whatever, they'd be like, well, you know, you should be doing like one thing, right? Focusing just on fitness, just on that, just on whatever. Dude, nobody gives a fuck about that shit unless you're a real person behind it, right?
100%.
If you're just posting fucking fitness videos and transformation photos, who the fuck are you? Nobody cares. Like, if you're not a real person behind that, you don't show what you're really like and really about, nobody's going to empathize with you. Nobody's going to see themselves in you.
There's no connection.
Right, exactly. There's no connection.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. You have abs. Awesome. Great. I'm going to go eat my pizza.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Agreed. Yeah. No, listen, this is I appreciate you sharing the information, taking the time. I hope that some of our fans, viewers, brand customers, and some of your followers see this, hear about this, and learn a little bit more, not only about what you do, but in general about the approach, right? Like behavioral change, having a positive impact, improving your mental health and your physical health, understanding that it's a bigger picture, and you got to take your personal health seriously so you can help other people. And I don't mean just cops, I mean people. So I hope our fans and everybody get that message. And I hope all of them, if they don't already, follow you and get a little bit more of that message on a daily basis.
Thank you.
Yeah, man.
Awesome.
Thank you, Kay.
Well, I think we're gonna wrap it up right there.
Dude, thanks for coming, man.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you taking the time. All right.
Thank you.
Push it to the limit, I can't go no more.